This home-style hot and sour soup is packed with flavor and goodies. Everything will be uniformly cut. We'll need boneless pork sirloin, firm tofu, and bamboo strips. Preferably buy them as strips to avoid additional cutting. You will also need shiitake mushrooms and black fungus that will rehydrate in a mixture of soy sauce and water. Now, the black fungus, like the bamboo strips, do come in two forms. You can get them already pre-cut in strips, and this will save you from having to cut them into very thin strips. Or if you want to, you can purchase it whole, rehydrated, and then cut into strips. The egg is used more for a thickener. Dried red chili peppers and some dried lily flowers. Now these dried lily flowers, we're not going to rehydrate them in order to maintain their taste. We are merely going to rinse them and then add them directly to the hot water. Unlike the shiitake mushroom and black fungus that have been rinsed, rehydrated, and the actual mixture of soy and water, we're going to also add that tasty umami flavor to the water. Now we are going to marinate these pork strips before we add that to the soup stock for two reasons. One, it enhances the flavor of the pork, and two, it also tenderizes the pork strips. So we will marinate this with the basic Chinese marinade. Now for the hot and sour soup flavoring, we will need chicken bouillon, some white wine vinegar, and some black vinegar. Now the black vinegar is essential to the hot and sour soup, in my opinion, because it has some fruit juices in there that sweetens up the vinegar and rounds out the taste of the hot and sour soup. You will also need sesame oil and both light and dark soy sauces. Now the dark soy sauce is really just to make your hot and sour soup a darker brown color. For the thickening agent, we'll use either potato or tapioca starch and not cornstarch, as it tends to make the soup opaque. Slice your pork to a 1/4 inch thickness, making sure that you keep your hands flat to avoid any knife accidents. When all your slices are 1/4 inch thick, cut them the opposite way into strips. Marinate this with the basic Chinese meat marinade of cornstarch, salt, pepper, sugar, soy sauce, whiskey, and sesame oil. Cut your rehydrated shiitake mushroom into strips. Cut the firm tofu into strips by first cutting them into 1/4 inch slices and then cutting them in the opposite direction. Depending on how spicy you want your hot and sour soup, you can either boil your chilies whole, or for extra spiciness, you can cut your chilies into smaller pieces. The spiciness comes from the seeds, so you can decide how many seeds you want to add into your water. And lastly, we are going to rinse our lily bud flowers. So for the actual soup, I estimate about 3/4 cup of water for every person. To that, I'm going to add the chicken bouillon. I'm then going to add all the dried and rehydrated vegetables plus the soy water mixture, because that has all the umami flavor. Spice it up with some red hot chili peppers and then add the bamboo shoot strips. Make your thickener by combining either potato or tapioca starch with some water in a small bowl. Now add the dark soy sauce for color, the light soy sauce, the sesame oil, white wine vinegar, black vinegar, and pepper, and stir. Now it's time to add the marinated pork strips. We don't want to overcook the pork, otherwise it's going to be really tough, but we want to make sure that it is cooked through. Make sure that you do taste the soup so that it is to your liking. So now it's time to thicken the soup. The tapioca or potato starch slurry will have separated a bit, so make sure you stir it before adding it to the soup. When the soup is at a rolling boil, gently add the slurry while stirring until it is thickened. Now add your egg by lightly whisking the egg and then slowly adding it to the soup while it is on a rolling boil. Finally, add the strips of firm tofu to the soup and give it one final stir. By adding the delicate tofu last, it is less likely to be destroyed during the soup making process. I hope you learned something, and happy cooking! More recipes can be found on sammywongskitchen.com or social media. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks!